research data management has always been important, forever, because if you're a researcher and if you're being responsible about your research, then managing your data is vital, largely because, of course, any system of research or any scientific system depends on authentication. You've got to be able to justify what you're saying, what conclusions you've drawn, and that means you've got somehow or other to either justify your results or to be able to replicate them. So if you're a responsible researcher, you've always worried about data management. I think what we're talking about now are significant changes to that regime, what they mean now and what they're going to mean in the future.
Research data management is the active management of research data, which is the material which underpins scholarly findings across and throughout the entire life cycle of scholarly interest. It's an active process, it's something which doesn't do itself, and it's something which increasingly institutions need to have an institutional overview on.
Well, research data management is important to researchers because their research data has value. And really what we're about is preserving that data so that it doesn't get lost, and also releasing some of that value, allowing it to be used by other people for reasons maybe that researchers themselves would never have thought of.
I think it's very important to impact that if we put our research data management in the public domain so that more people can use it, they can develop more impacts from it. We can monitor that impact, work with them, develop those partnerships to make sure that that impact works for them. So the data that we have at the moment that they don't have access to, that they perhaps don't even know exists, we can show to them, we can share with them, they can use it, and then we can generate added value for all of us.
We're looking at what we do currently in terms of research data management. We're trying to assess what we need to do to be compliant with Research Council policies, and also to take advantage of some of the opportunities that there are around open data. So we've brought academic colleagues and staff from professional services together to look at what the requirements are for developing infrastructure, services and support.
The DCC is helping institutions via HEFCE's Universities Modernisation Fund. Through that, we're working with 20 institutions, including the University of Salford, with a much more focused and much more intensive support process. Now, what we've done is we've put on events, awareness-raising events at the university. We've carried out surveys and audits and basically requirement gathering exercises with researchers and with research support people, with a view to understanding what's currently done, benchmarking that against the requirements of the funders and establishing what the gaps are and coming up with a roadmap on how to actually get from A to B.
Well, the benefits are enormous, and that really comes into what we're trying to do in the university here in moving this conversation forward. Some of the benefits are, first of all, analytical. The analytical reach of digital data is extraordinary in comparison with traditional data. So right from the point, for example, of literature surveys. Now, I was taught as a PhD student that chapter 2 of the dissertation had to be a literature review. We're now in a situation where in some disciplines, 2 new refereed papers are published online every minute. You can't possibly do a conventional literature review in the way that you would have done. So first of all, in publication terms, we have the opportunity to access vast amounts of information using automated digital techniques. And that's going to define the future for a lot of disciplines. The other big change is the fact that now a lot of online links to data sets are actually embedded in publications. So already in some disciplines, when the paper is published online, it will contain a hyperlink to a database. And there will be an increasing expectation that that database is live and managed. Now, that's not the case for all disciplines, but for some disciplines, and I think particularly in areas like the medical sciences, there will be an expectation that the hyperlink is to real data and that data is appropriately curated. And that will become part of the process of submitting grant applications and also covering peer review of journal output. So unless we understand that, then we can't move on. Now, just having embedded data links poses a whole host of additional challenges. Now, some of those are technical, exactly who does maintain the database, but many of them are ethical. So, for example, issues of privacy. How can you get access to data? And again, let's go into an area of health, which is big in our university. The opportunities for using informatics in the health area are immense, but it involves, for instance, accessing NHS patient data records. What are the ethical issues about that? What are the legal implications of access to data? How can we resolve these issues sensibly so that we respect people's right for privacy, but at the same time advance the sort of research that we need to advance to improve the quality of life? Now, those are the sorts of issues we need a very healthy debate about across our university.
I think with the REF at the moment, they're encouraging people to submit data sets. So if you have a very good, very high use, very unique data set, then you may want to think about submitting it for REF. And there's also kind of opportunities for recognition. So data citation is just emerging as an issue. So there are various projects which allow you to assign a DOI to a data set. And now we're assigning DOIs to data sets, we've been able to track the citations. We're seeing some extremely well-cited data sets, which really do draw attention to the work that researchers have done. And those data sets being reused by lots of other people and people being credited for that.
Areas we're very strong at, of course, like health, are generating significant quantities of additional data. And then, of course, we've got Media City, and Media City is all about digital futures. So I think our community has a tremendous range of opportunities to take this conversation forward and to really lead in some of these aspects.